Hey guys, it's me, Chrissy, and I have a book review of Me Before You by Jojo moyes. So this is about a girl named Louisa, and she is she's working at this cafe, and then the owner decides to sell it, and so she's working on these like random jobs that she's not enjoying, and she needs the money to help her family. So she ends up getting a job as a caretaker to Will, who's a paraplegic who got into an accident. And Will isn't too happy to see her. He isn't very happy at all. And so they have like this routine, and they like spite each other, and it's like very interesting. It was very slow at first, but I really loved this book. I love like the characters. Louisa has a sister named Trina, and she has a son named Thomas, and they all live together in this house. And then Trina decides she wants to go back to college, so Louisa really needs this money so she can help her family out. And even though Will is a dick and to her, and he she's like really trying her best at this job, and it pays well. It's only a 6-month position for a very reason. I think this book dealt with a subject no one really talks about, like, which is really interesting. And it's about it's not about love. Like, this is not your typical love story. It is very sad and very deep, and there are moments where I just like was like thinking all these things, and it was there were some funny parts, and I enjoyed this because like I love the characters. I love Louisa. She has these, like, she talks about her bumblebee tights. I love her sense of fashion, and her boyfriend is a complete dick, and I hated him. And he was like this like really intense exercise guy, and all he would talk about is exercise, and he didn't really care. Like, he like I felt like at points he didn't really care about Louisa. He just like cared about himself and doing like all these exercise things, and it was just really selfish at times. And when she would talk about her job and things that she needed to do, and he's like, "Oh, you care about is your job." I'm like, you only care about freaking exercise, stupid stuff, and it's really stupid. Like shut up. And he is just rude. And then I grew to love Will, like, and I felt so bad for him because he had this terrible accident, and then he doesn't want to live. He tried to kill himself before, and then she finds out that he is going to do this thing. I don't really understand it. It's like this thing where like you end up killing yourself in this, and it's just really sad and interesting and really depressing. And when Louisa finds out, she quits, and then the mother tracks her down at her home, and then she continues to work, but she is going to help Will want to live, like, and do like all these like anti bucket list stuff. And it's just really crazy. And like the horse track was the worst. I felt so bad. Like, it was cringing to read, and it was just so, I felt so bad. But I love Louisa as a character. She's very funny at times. And then they end up going to a concert, like a classical music concert him and Will and Louisa, and it was just so beautiful. And she wore this red dress, and it was just so beautiful. And then there's this part where Will had a tag on his shirt, and they didn't have scissors, so she like pulls it with her teeth, and it was so funny. Like, and then like she's really working hard, and then to get them to him to want to live, and then his like friend and ex-girlfriend are getting married, which is so like so crazy. Like, and they tell him, and then they end up going to the wedding, and him and Louisa, and it's crazy, and she's like, let's go on a trip. So they decide to go on this trip, and then Will gets pneumonia and they can't, so they end up going on like a smaller trip with Louisa, Will, and his like health provider Nathan. And there were some point different points of view in there. There was one from Will's mom, one from Trina, and one from Nathan, which was very interesting to hear. But I always preferred Louisa's point of view because I just loved her as a character. She was an awesome character. And then so they go on this trip, and it's beautiful, and they go for like a few months, I think. And then Patrick and Louisa ended up moving in together, and then when she told him about this trip, they ended up breaking up, which I was really happy about because he wasn't good for her. Like, he was just really selfish and rude. And then, so on this trip, they do like a bunch of stuff, and he's trying to help her like experience things, and he doesn't know that she knows that he wants to kill himself, and then ends they end up kissing, and then she tells him that she knows everything, and then she says, we'll make this work, we'll make it work. I can there's and then he says no, and I'm like sobbing at this point. It hasn't, like, nothing really terrible has happened, and then he tells her no because I wouldn't want you to like resent me, and he's like, I'm going to Sweden, and I think that's where it is, and I want you to come with me. And I'm like crying. She's like, no, I can't do that. Like, how dare you ask me that? And then she like officially quits, and she can't, and she's like depressed. And then someone like told the press about it, and it was Patrick because he's a dick. And then everyone is like hounding their house, and then she decides to go to him, and it was just incredibly sad, and it was a beautiful like moments they had together, and it was just so beautiful. And then she ends up going to Paris, and it was just so beautiful. It was just so beautiful, and I loved it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And I hope you guys enjoyed my review. I'm going to be reading, I think it's called After You, when it comes out in paperback, because I pre-ordered it. And so when that comes out, I will be reading it. And so I hope you guys enjoy it. Happy reading. See you guys soon.